Live, this is CBS 7 News at 10. Your eye on West Texas.
Hello everyone, thanks so much for joining us. I'm Sarah Strackhouse. Thousands have lost power here in the Permian Basin, and that number continues to grow. I spoke to people dealing with no electricity as well as Encore to see what's being done.
Cold, very cold. Everything's electric.
Betty Johnston says she hasn't had electricity since midnight.
Just bundling up, putting on layers of clothes, getting extra blankets, curling up, can't even watch TV, can't talk on the phone.
She says she'll stay under the covers drinking the hot drink that her family brought her until the power gets fixed. We spoke to Encore Odessa area manager Gus Ortega, who says they've brought in 12 times the amount of crews they normally have to help the 24,000 plus customers like Betty.
Right now we have approximately about 110 crews that are working through the Permian Basin area trying to get the service back on.
Stationed at the Ector County Coliseum, trucks load up and head out to work more jobs around the clock.
A couple of helicopters that are going to be flying through the area to do some more evaluation. Like I said, we feel for the customers, but we are doing what we can for the customers. We're working safely. Well, first thing is safe.
Betty tells me that she has one request.
Well, hurry up. I'm impatient.
Now, Encore has a power map that shows the outages and the progress. That link is on our website, where you can also find information on how to get Encore text alerts about your power. This is a cold night to be without power. Weather specialist Daryl Ward is in the Pinpoint Weather Center now. Daryl, just how cold is it supposed to get tonight?
Yeah, unfortunately, we saw some sunshine, a little bit warmer, started melting the ice off today. If you're without power, it's going to get cold tonight. Here's what we're looking at in the morning. When you get up and about, you're going to be talking 20s tomorrow morning for the city of Odessa. A few clouds, cold, not too windy at least, 26 to start your day off. In Midland, same story, 26 to start off your Sunday morning. North winds 5 to 10 miles an hour. Big Spring, also 26. So it's going to be a pretty cold start for the day. 24 in Pecos under mostly clear skies, and in Fort Stockton, mostly clear, 27 first thing in the morning. In Alpine, clear, pretty cold, 25 to start your day tomorrow. Very cold in Marfa, 18 under clear skies. So we're going to a cold start tomorrow, and with the cold front rolling in, we're not going to warm up just a great deal tomorrow. The good news is no freezing moisture. The downside, it's going to be cold. I'll come back with your Pinpoint 7-day forecast here in just a few minutes. Sarah?
Daryl, thanks. At least no moisture. Some water updates for you. The city of Fort Stockton is under a water shortage warning. Now, the Pecos County Emergency Management Office tells CBS 7 that power outages from the winter storm are affecting their systems. Now, the Pecos County Water District Improvement Number 1 in the city of Fort Stockton asked people to conserve water until further notice. And the Greater Gardendale Water Supply Corporation has just issued a boil water notice for all their customers. All water used for drinking, cooking, and making ice should be boiled and then cooled before use. That's due to a power outage at the pump station. Now, customers also may not have water tonight. The boil water notice will remain in place until Tuesday afternoon. If you have any questions, you can contact their office, and that number can be found on our website at cbs7.com. Now, after dealing with dangerous driving conditions for the past few days, Midland drivers can now breathe a sigh of relief. According to the city of Midland, all roads that were closed because of dangerous icy conditions are now back open. But now that the ice has melted, flooding is a new concern. Midland tells us the low water crossing along Midland and Scarborough draws are still closed as a precaution. And be careful tonight as the temperature drops. We could see some of that water become black ice. And first responders and law enforcement aren't the only workers who have unpredictable hours. The week wrecking crews have received over 3 times the number of calls than that of a normal week. A local wrecking company said that the number of wrecks were so high that they had to increase the number of employees on 24-hour call. Crews said that they are still working on moving vehicles from calls earlier in the week. With hundreds of wrecks caused by wintry weather, many car owners now have decisions to make. If your vehicle was damaged this week, you're definitely not alone. CBS 7 spoke with a longtime business owner who says it's important to make an informed decision when choosing a body shop for your vehicle repairs.
First of all, talk to your neighbors, your friends, find out who's good, who does good work. Just looking in that yellow pages doesn't do you a lot of good. You need to find out who's good and who will do your good work.
Newman also says that just because a body shop is big does not necessarily mean that it's better. And the winter weather also caused hundreds of trees to fall all throughout the Permian Basin. Yesterday morning, a 50-foot tree stood tall in Odessa resident Mark Brown's front yard. But by that afternoon, it had split in three, creating one big mess. After all is said and done, Brown will have paid close to $3,000, if not more, to clean up what he describes as a 50-year-old beautiful tree.
One went out into the street, one against my house, and one in my neighbor's yard. And I've never. It looks like I said, it looks like lightning just came down and hit it, but it's just the weight of the ice.
Wow. Brown said he's glad no one was hurt and plans on planting a small tree where his 50-foot tree once stood. And both Midland and Odessa have set up designated disposal areas for people to drop off their fallen tree branches. In Midland, they have two temporary 24-hour drop-off sites. Those are Hogan Park and Beale Park. And then over in Odessa, people can drop off their tree branches at the solid waste facility until 5 o'clock tomorrow. You can find more information on those tree disposals at our website at cbs7.com. We're happy to report that the city of Belmarais once again has fuel. According to Mayor John Davis, all three gas stations were out of gas this morning. He says it was most likely due to the hundreds of stranded travelers who headed back home. Employees at the gas station say fuel trucks made a delivery this afternoon, and they're back in good shape. An Odessa family of three has been struggling to make ends meet for the past few years. Frank Casas and his two 6-year-old children live in a small trailer and are currently without a car. Casas and his kids were living with his mother, but were kicked out by his siblings after she passed away. Every day, the three of them wake up at 6:15 in the morning to get ready and walk to Jesus' house to eat breakfast and lunch. Then after that, they head to the Salvation Army for dinner.
My children shouldn't have to go through what I'm going through, you know. But, I mean, they deal with it every day. Apparently God sent me a couple soldiers and, you know, they don't complain too much. You know, I'm the one that's complaining, you know. But I know there's a lot of good Christian people out there. And we need help in trying to get our vehicle fixed, you know, so we can move around so I can get a better job because I'm barely making ends meet.
Anyone wishing to help can contact them at 813-6987. A bank account will be set up for the family Monday morning at Southwest 66 Credit Union in Odessa. With your eye on the nation, we've heard a lot in recent headlines months about the spread of dangerous infections such as Ebola, but doctors in the U.S. say that there's a much higher risk for a far more common virus, influenza. As George Howell reports, this year's flu season is proving deadly for children.
One of the most recent flu-related deaths is a 3-year-old girl from Iowa. Her parents say she went from perfect health with no pre-existing conditions to becoming severely dehydrated and in pain, then rushed to a hospital in Des Moines, where she later died, just a few days after showing the initial signs of the flu. Another tragic case in Minnesota. 7-year-old Ruby Hansen died Christmas Eve. Her mother believes she might have survived had she not had a pre-existing medical condition.
The flu would have not did her in had she not had Dravet syndrome. There's no way. She had a seizure. Yes, the seizure was caused by the flu.
These latest deaths now part of grim statistics released by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, showing the flu has reached an epidemic level in the United States. One of the strains making people sick this season has mutated, causing this year's vaccination to be less than optimal for protection.
The most common virus that we're seeing causing disease right now is this H3N2 virus. When we've seen H3N2 predominate in previous seasons, we've seen relatively severe seasons. So it's possible we could have a severe season again this year.
It's being felt widespread in at least 36 states with current influenza levels approaching peak levels we saw 2 years ago. Doctors are seeing more patients.
I was on a shift the other day. I saw about 35 patients. I saw 10 positive flu swabs. And there was a couple I didn't even swab. I just treated them because it's so prevalent. So we're definitely seeing a lot.
The CDC is set to release its latest figures on how widespread the flu bug has become this coming Monday. In the meantime, officials still recommend getting a flu shot. Even though it may not completely prevent against it, it may lessen the severity if you get sick. George Howell, CNN, Chicago.
Former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee has announced that he's ending his program on Fox News and leaving the network. He's been the host of the show Huckabee since 2008, the same year as his failed presidential campaign. He cites speculation over a possible new presidential bid as the reason for his departure. Huckabee says he won't decide whether to throw in his hat into the ring for the 2016 until late spring. Police say that 4 people died when a small plane crashed in rural Kentucky late Friday. The lone survivor, a brave 7-year-old girl who walked nearly a mile to the nearest house in search of help. This is video from early Saturday morning as crews looked for the wreckage. The FAA says the pilot had reported engine trouble and tried to divert to a nearby airport. Kentucky State Police say that the plane was en route to Illinois from Key West, Florida. The young girl was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. With your eye overseas, the weather delays are frustrating for searchers who just want to get back to work. CNN's Paula Hancock went out with a helicopter team earlier. At least she tried to. Here's a look at what happened with there.
Follow the coastline. Go to the east. Go to the east.
Haryadi Mapaung shows me the flight plan. Scouring the southwest coast of Borneo. Plans to reach the AirAsia crash site changed due to the weather. Only aircraft evacuating bodies and debris allowed to risk the so-called red zone. Officials believe remnants of the plane or bodies may have drifted around 100 nautical miles to land. Dense vegetation and marshes make searching by land unrealistic. Much of this area is barely inhabited. As the weather closes in, the pilot tries to fly around it, but the front is too big.
We're only half an hour into the flight, and the pilot has just decided that we have to abort this mission. He says that the weather up ahead is simply too dangerous. He cannot fly into those kind of clouds and that rain, so we're circling back and going back to the airport. Now, for those on board that were going to be looking for debris and also looking for bodies, they barely had a chance to even start their job. And this was just along the coastline. This wasn't even out at sea where the weather is worse.
Back on land, the team refuses to be disheartened. The local police chief tells me we'll keep going until we find everyone. More victims have flown to dry land Saturday despite the weather. Once cleaned and treated, they're flown on to Surabaya for formal identification. Every number, a loved member of a distraught family. An innocent soul who lost their life in the Java Sea. Paula Hancock's CNN, Pangkalambun, Indonesia.
The big freeze seems to be finally over. Here are some viewer-submitted photos from the storm. It may be the last of the ice and snow, but definitely not the end of the cold. Weather specialist Daryl Ward joins us after the break with your complete 7-day forecast. You're watching CBS 7 News, your eye on West Texas.